It's amazing how, you lose a franchise from one country to another, and, the consequences are huge, especially if you live in the country less traveled, such as Canada. For me, it's always weird seeing franchises leave Canada for the United States. And, you rarely see a United States team in the Big Four head to Canada. I mean, football never did, basketball never did. Baseball didn't cross the border into Canada. Toronto, Montreal got their spots by expansion. But in hockey, it actually happened only once. And that was when the Atlanta Flames crossed into Calgary to be the Calgary Flames. The only time that Canada benefited from the United States in a move like that. Almost every time, Canada just gets nipped in the bud. And of course, one of the biggest moves in Canada to U.S. history was the basketball team with the Grizzlies moving to Memphis. Although it was kind of a warranted move because, Vancouver just sucked terribly. Couldn't even get 30 wins in a season in their 6 years in Vancouver. Just pathetic. But anyway, there was once a Memphis team that actually was like a Cinderella in a sense and became the fifth, eighth seed to beat a one seed in the first round. I'm talking about the 2011 team, of course. And I'm hoping that Memphis likes themselves. Anyway, let's talk about the 2011 Memphis Grizzlies. We're playing basketball sims. We're playing basketball sims. He's playing What If NBA. Cutter's doing What If NBA. Yeah. Oh, all the teams around the world got to know that the Raptors are number one. But what about the Bulls, Wizards, and Pistons? They all have great what ifs. Stories about old teams like the Kansas City Kings and maybe even the Minneapolis Lakers. But we all know we're going to do some basketball. He's doing basketball. He's doing basketball. What ifs? Cutter's doing what if NBA? So what if NBA? So the Memphis Grizzlies came from Vancouver. Of course, usually when I talk about one franchise in the one city, I don't talk about the other one. Of course, with the Vancouver Grizzlies, I talked about their history in Vancouver. To paraphrase, Vancouver got an expansion team in 1996, the same year as the Raptors did. The tale of two teams was big. The Grizzlies actually started out 2-0, but then they went on that 20 plus game losing streak, if you will. And the team looked decent. They had Brad Big Country Reese, Russ Miles Swift, Michael Dickerson, and Shardul Rahim at one point. The Grizzlies were screwed in '96, as were the Raptors. They couldn't draft the number one draft pick. They said an established team would get that. The Raptors would have got the number one pick in the draft. I think it probably took in AI. Who knows? Nevertheless, Vancouver did get Sharif Abdul Rahim in that loaded class of '96. And Vancouver looked decent, winning some games, but their losing streaks were just terrible. Vancouver was really bad in 1999. They drafted Steve Francis when he allegedly had a bad run-in at the airport, and actually was discussed so much so that the Grizzlies traded his rights to Houston for Michael Dickerson, among other people. That was kind of the beginning and the end, and the Grizzlies sucked. Vancouver just wasn't supporting their team. There was a hockey team to worry about, and when your team's winning, you do well. Toronto took till 2000 to make themselves primetime players, but they were primetime players. 2000, they lost to the Knicks in the first round, and then in 2001, they took out the Knicks in 5 games when the first round was best of 5. The Raptors had to go to New York and do their job. So anyway, the Raptors would go on to lose to the Sixers in that conference final, but Vancouver was on its way out. They moved them to Memphis, and Memphis had a few ABA teams and had aspirations for the NBA, but didn't get them. So the Memphis Grizzlies were born, and they slowly turned themselves around. Anyway, the Memphis Grizzlies did their job, if you will. Memphis has had some very up and down years and all that. I know I try my best not to cheat. Wikipedia. But anyway, yeah, it was amazing and all that. They had the Pau Gasol era. Atlanta actually drafted Pau Gasol with the third pick, but traded him to the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies got Shane Battier. So anyway, Pau Gasol was named NBA Rookie of the Year, and they actually hired Jerry West as general manager and all that. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, the Grizzlies could have had the number 2 pick in the 2003 draft, but in a trade that I guess you could trade 6 years down the road, they traded their pick in '97. Well, the '97 they picked a 2003 first round pick to Detroit for Otis Fort, and it turned out that they would have been the number 2 pick, but maybe they would have screwed everything up. The Grizzlies were rebuilding and all that. They had that 2011 season, and they have done decently in a sense, but in the end, the Grizzlies in the playoffs haven't done too much. They did get to the conference finals in 2013 after beating the Clippers in Thunder, but they got their butts handed to them by the Spurs, who then lost in Game 7 of the final to LeBron. That's the only time they've been to the conference finals. So Memphis doing their job. But the fact of the matter is that they keep trying. Anyhow, let's look at the 2011 team. So the 2011 Grizzlies were the 16th season of the franchise and 10th in Memphis. The 2011 Grizzlies season marked their first playoff appearance since 2006. And they also marked their first playoff win in a series in franchise history when they did all that, becoming the 4th 8th seed to win the playoffs over a 1 seed after San Antonio was upset by the Grizzlies. Following the Nuggets in '94, who upset Seattle, the Knicks, who beat the Heat in '99, and the Warriors, who beat Dallas in 2007. So anyway, Tony Allen was starting to get good and all that. The Grizzlies at the trade deadline decided to trade Hashim Thabit, who was a massive draft bust, even though he was good with UConn, and a first round pick to Houston for Shane Battier and Ish Smith. They tried to trade OJ Mayo to Indy for Josh McRoberts, but the trade deadline happened. They couldn't get it. They did make the playoffs. They got Xavier Henry from Kansas. So they had Tony Allen, Daryl Arthur, Shane Battier, Mike Conley, Marc Gasol, Rudy Gay, who was on the injury list, Hamed Haddadi, Xavier Henry, OJ Mayo, Leo Poe, Zach Randolph, Ish Smith, Jeremy Vasquez, and Sam Young. In the regular season, they won 46 games, 4th in their division, 8th overall. They lost to New Orleans on a tiebreak. They beat Houston by 3 games to be the 8th seed. Everyone in the West won 46 games. That's pretty good. They would have to take on the Spurs, being the best team in the not only the division but in the conference. In the first round, they took on the Spurs, lost game 2, so it was 1-1. Then went home to the FedEx Forum and shocked everyone by sweeping the Spurs aside. They lost in overtime in game 5, and then in game 6, Zach Randolph scored 31 points, and they beat the Spurs. In the conference semifinals against OKC, they split in Oklahoma City, and then they split at home, losing in triple overtime to Oklahoma City at 2-2. They were down 3-2. They won game 6 at home, but lost in Oklahoma City in game 7. So try as they might, they just couldn't do it. They almost became the second 8th seed to move on to the conference finals. Zach Randolph 3 times was named NBA Player of the Week, and in January he was Player of the Month. He went to the All NBA third team, which is like the 11th to 15th best players. Tony Allen was on the All Defensive second team. Grizzlies won a playoff series for the first time. Well, it was their first playoff game ever. Rudy Gay had to miss the remainder of the season because of a dislocated left shoulder. That could have helped if he was healthy. So anyway, They picked up Rudy Gay. Well, they kept Rudy Gay. They picked up Tony Allen from Boston. They didn't really lose too many people. Ronnie Brewer was gone, but the Grizzlies hung on, and their best season ever. Well, 2013, but 2011 was great. They were the 8th seed and pulled off the upset and almost went to the conference semis. They were one game away. So what would happen if the 2011 Grizzlies did go to the conference finals? This would happen. The Memphis Grizzlies 46 wins against the Dallas Mavericks 57 wins. So Memphis and Dallas. And anyway, they did all that stuff. So anyway, yeah, so Dallas was the team in the conference finals that would have faced, Oklahoma City and beat them. Dallas in real life beat Oklahoma City, then beat Miami and LeBron in the final. So what would happen if Memphis went through Dallas? Game 1 would not work out. They lose 95-88. Dirk, 25 points, 8 rebounds. Rudy Gay put up 29 points. Remember, this is a healthy Rudy Gay. And all that. Conley, Zach Randolph, Gasol, and Mayer. Tony Allen, 8 points off the bench in 11 minutes. Daryl Arthur, Gervais Vasquez. Fabit, still on that team. 2011 Mavericks, 25 points for Dirk Nowitzki. Jason Kidd played 34 minutes and got 1 point. 1.11 assists. He was 0 for 4 from the field. 25 for Nowitzki, 20 for Terry. Butler and Chandler were getting that. Heck, even Ian Mahimi scored more points than Jason Kidd. Pedro scored 8 points in 7 minutes off the bench, which was big. Brian Cardinal, J.J. Barea from Puerto Rico, Sean Stevenson, Brian Hayward, former Washington icon, and Sean Marion, former Suns icon. Game 2 sees the Grizzlies lose closely again. Kidd, 10 points, 13 assists. Rudy put up 23 points. 11 points from Daryl Arthur. Xavier Henry, 4 minutes. Every starter got double digits. Sean Marion got 8 points. Dallas looks good. And they did. The Grizzlies would have got their asses handed them. Jason Kidd with the 8, 9, 10. 8 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, which was funny. He had 20 points from Mr. Nowitzki, 21 from Jason Terry, Caron Butler, and Tyson Chandler. Brendan Haywood, 10 points in 15 minutes. There's Corey Brewer, Ajinka, Dominic Jones, Steve Novak, and Sasha Pavlovic. Memphis, 24 from Zach Randolph, 19 from Conley, 10 from Daryl Arthur at the bench. DeMar Carroll for Future Raptor, Hadidi, AC Law, Ish Smith, and Leon Powell doing the job. But will Memphis at least win one game? The answer is, oh yeah, Dallas can't finish the job. Marcus Gasol, 19 points, 10 rebounds, and they will force at least a game 5. 17 from Caron Butler. Dirk with only 14. Hadidi had 7 points in 3 minutes. 23 from Sag, 19 from Gasol. Game 5. Saw the Mavericks win 101-85. Obviously, Memphis was trying so hard, but they would have fallen in the conference finals to Dallas. Dirk, 36 points, 11 rebounds. At least Memphis got to the conference finals. Sacramento, 26 points in 36 minutes. Tony Allen, 16 points. He would have been third highest scorer on the team. Conley, Gasol, and OJ could not do anything. But 36 from Nowitzki, 14 from Caron, 10 from Sean Marion. Yeah, the Memphis Grizzlies would have got their butts handed to them by the Dallas Mavericks. At least they would have made the conference finals, as I said, and make the Grizzlies franchise more applicable. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.